Whoa! I got someone new with me today. It's not Dane. It's Sam. Sam Weeks. Sam.
What's up, guys? I'm doing well.
Sam, you want to give him a little intro? I know your throws you, right? Like you're running it. I don't want to say you are, but like you do a lot with it.
Yeah. So I am the throws coach for Throws University. I'm the second throws coach. I'm under Trevor Stutzman. But I do a lot of the on-site and the online training here at Garage Strength, and I'm part of Throws U.
Sweet. So that's like discus, shot. Do you do javelin too?
So we have started doing javelin this year, actually.
Ooh.
A little bit. We're not like super official with it, but we're testing the waters.
You have a javelin athlete that you work with, or
yes.
2 or 3?
So I have one online, I have one on site.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What about hammer? Isn't that a throw too?
Hammer is a throw that's usually in the collegiate system. I do have collegiate athletes that I work with who throw the hammer, but I kind of just leave it to just shot and disc.
Okay.
And sometimes jab.
I got you. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Earl. I am considered the 3-time world champion co-author of the year. Basically, parabolic periodization, sports performance Bible, garage strength, program design. I had some authorship within there, co-authorship, and then weekly host of the podcast and king of the PA press. It's all these delts that I don't have. Do you PA press? I got to size you up quick.
I have PA press, but what I've heard about your PA press, it's not close.
All right. Yeah. So if you didn't know, I'm just going to brag real quick. I've PA pressed 120 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best I've done so far. I think I have more in me. I just need the day and the time.
Yeah.
So Sam is here to talk today about throws, but more generally speaking to athletes around just basically preparing to be explosive and have like that pop, that elasticity, that twitchiness, like just boom. And Sam is recently coming off some crazy athlete success stories through training. You were responsible for their lifting programming, correct?
Correct.
Their technical programming, so like their sports coach type of stuff as well too.
Correct.
And the athletes balled out, right? Like
absolutely,
you got results.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have a few things we're going to go through here. We have a specific program to look over that we're going to break down. We have videos of those performances that we're going to look at too and react to. And we also have clips of those athletes lifting as well too, to sort of see the transfer and like get into Sam's head around like, hey, this was my intention with this. This is what we did. This is what we saw. And for those of you that don't throw, the like more general theme is like, hey, this is how you get explosive. This is how you get some pop in it. Where do you want to start, Sam? Which part of that you want to dive into first?
Let's start with the throws.
The throws? Okay.
Yeah,
let me hear about it. Tell me something cool about the throws.
Do you want to look at the clips?
Oh, you want to start right with the clips?
Let's just start with the clips.
Go right in.
Let's start with the clips.
I'm not. That's fine. All right.
So
let me expand this a little. You want to start? This looks like a shot.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is Brady Miter. He goes to Berks Catholic. Excuse me. This was his winning attempt. He threw 61 feet and 10 inches.
Isn't he off somewhere else too after this? Like
he's going to Iowa, Division I.
Man, if he was wrestling there, I'd be super impressed.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty impressed. Like he throws it really far. I was here when he benched like 420, I think, or 405 for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He was just down there. He's like, I think we're gonna go up. And like, I remember seeing him when he was probably like a freshman too. Like it was, and now it's just like, oh wow, that kid really became like strong.
Yeah, he's strong. It's silly. It's crazy.
All right, let's see this. Launch. We don't want this yet.
Not yet. No. Okay.
I'm gonna pause that. Should I go through it again, or you want to say something about it?
We can start the discussion. That's
all
fine.
Right.
So, yeah, this, like I said, this was his winning attempt. This was 61 feet. 10 inches. It was a little bit under his personal best, which is 63 and 3 inches, which he did earlier this year in the indoor season.
Don't people usually throw further outdoors than indoors?
Typically, yes. But the way that we are peaking, he has one more competition, and that's the competition that we're looking to go big at.
Okay.
So for him to be that close within a period where we're not at our true peak, I think is really kind of just special, and it really kind of just, is like an undertone of what we've been doing in the weight room.
That's sick. And like right here, it looks like it's just about to go off. Am I correct in saying that? Like, I'm not a technical coach with throws, so like you got to educate me here.
So this position right here is his power position. This is the position right before the release of the shot. This is a pretty good position for him specifically. And then you can just watch how he rotates his right around the left and then squares up into the direction of the throw to really get that big extension into the finish.
Boom.
Yeah.
And it looks like you just keep going. Do you keep going like that too? So I guess you don't foul, but also like that's just like why resist inertia?
Yes. Yeah. So it's just like continuing the rotation to get everything driving forward into the finish.
Boom. That's sick. Look, I like how it looks just going through the sky too.
Yeah.
You ever see that scene in Attack on Titan where I think it's like the Beast Titan
Beast
hurls
Titan.
the rock,
Mm-hmm.
and it just like he like does like a glide shot put.
Yeah, I was supposed to say the funny thing is he actually did the glide.
Yeah.
The animators actually put a glide in there.
How accurate was that?
It was very accurate, actually.
Oh man.
They like the whole setup, everything.
Who do you think they used as a technical model?
That's actually a good question. I've never thought about that. That's a good question.
You should like send them like pictures of like Lucas with the the glider. I don't know any other glider. I just know Lucas because he's here. I'm just making jokes too. All right, so talk to me, Sam, specifically around like explosiveness here. Like, what is making him so explosive? Like, movement wise, just like twitchiness and things like that. Let me like hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so in the throws, technique is always the pinnacle. You have to be in good positions to use, your explosiveness to its highest capabilities. So the biggest thing that we want to focus on is just getting into good positions. So, we try to be as smooth as possible out of the back. We try to be in good positions in the middle, which will set us up for a big finish at the end. As you can see here, like this, in my opinion, this toss is like okay. It's fairly decent. But because he's in like decent positions, he's able to put everything into the finish and, be explosive and, be impulsive. I don't know if that's the correct word, but
yeah,
I'm just thinking impulse because Dane loves the word impulse.
Right. Impulse, explosive, force times time. Like how fast can you do something and like create the power within there?
Yeah.
Nice. Should we go to the disc throw?
Yeah, we can go to the disc. So this is his disc at States. He went 167.7 for 4th place.
Yep. We don't want this yet. Can hear you cheering there too. You're the
Yeah,
yes, sir. Let's go.
I'm the biggest cheerleader for any athlete that I work with.
All right, I'm gonna just scrub through it slow. If you want to talk over it while I do that.
Absolutely. So, with the shot put in the discus, there are a lot of commonalities in the technique. Obviously, the implement is in a different position, but like the footwork in the circle is very similar. So we try to execute the same thing where it's like you're staying nice and controlled out of the back. Trying to be smooth in the middle, and then just setting up in a deep power position so then you can turn and then just crank the finish, which he does here, which he was 3 feet under his personal best, but this was the state championships where all of the best kids in the whole state of PA were at. So for him to only be 3 feet under was like a huge accomplishment.
And disc is not like his event either, right?
No.
He's a shot putter first, and like this is just like I got skill sets.
Yeah. So
I'm still in high school. I'm not like specializing yet. Like Because I assume when he goes to college, he's probably only throwing the shot. Or am
They might expose him to other events, but his primary is just going to be shot put.
Okay.
He'll specialize in the shot.
Yeah.
It's actually
Looks
funny
like
that
got
you
a dance going on there.
a little bit. I was gonna say it's funny that you say that because we really don't practice discus all that much.
Okay.
I think in the few months leading into this meet specifically, we had maybe like a couple days per like every other week that we train discus. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of commonalities between shot put and discus, specifically with the spin.
Okay.
So a lot of the stuff that we were doing for shot carried over into the discus, and then there was some specific work that we would do, but it was just him just being an athlete.
So essentially just the general explosiveness around the movement pattern goes very well between the two.
Yes.
And then even a step back farther, the lifting, the training around that, around being more explosive, more twitchy, feeds into it as well. Is there any lessons that, like, I don't know, like me, I'm not a thrower, but I'm an athlete. Maybe someone who wrestles, football player, soccer player, or even like ultimate frisbee, like something more like recreational type of thing that they do, that they could take from this and explosiveness and like apply to their like general mindset or like how they go about things.
I think once we get into like the program, we talk about the programs, I would be able to give you a better answer to that. But I think it's truly just like setting up the strength program so it, benefits what you're doing athletically. So like a lot of the stuff that we do, like we're trying to build his strength. We're trying to build his explosiveness. I will add special strength exercises. Special strength exercises are just exercises that replicate what we're doing in the circle or, on the field. So
that would be similar, I think, to what we talk about in the system a lot of times around like reflexive strength movements.
Yeah.
Like where you try to kind of mimic what goes on in sport in the weight room in like a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. So like all of those, I guess modalities, I don't know if modalities would be the correct term, but all of those, once you add them together, it's going to help, your athletic performance.
Sweet. Let's go to
So this is Maddie Henney. She goes to Wilson High School. She's actually a sophomore.
What is that?
This was 117.10, and she got 7th place.
All right. So I don't mean to be rude, but one of the things I notice is she does not now. One, she's a sophomore, not senior, going to college on a D1 scholarship yet. She looks slower than Brady through like the center and everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm not discounting what she's doing. It's just like that's what my eye sees. Mm-hmm. Am I totally out of line here, or like
I think
what am I missing from like just not being knowledgeable on the sport?
I think your analysis is fair. They're two different athletes. Brady is a little bit bigger. He's a little more snappier, but I think Maddie holds her own, but they're two different athletes at the end of the day.
Okay.
Maddie's very long and she uses her body to the best of her ability. I believe Maddie's like 5'3", 5'4", so like, she has a lot more room to work in the circle compared to Brady, who's 6'1". So she has to use her body in a different way than Brady does, but she's very efficient with what she's doing.
Okay. Very nice. In the middle, off, finish, power positions right there,
Power
right?
Position, yep.
It almost looks like someone throwing a punch.
It's very similar, like lower body wise, how like you want to lead with the hip and then the upper body follows. It's very similar.
So I know, having spotted a discus thrower the other day and a shot putter the other week, that they bench a lot. Sorry, excuse me. And they bench very heavy. Mm-hmm. And you just made the comment about like a lot of the power comes from the legs, which seems obvious. Can you talk about the explosiveness and the twitchiness from the upper body too, please?
Absolutely. So
Man, I need a water drink.
Yeah, so I like to think of just like the total body, right? Yes, we want to be explosive with the legs. We want to be explosive through the trunk. We want to be explosive through the upper body. So like we want to be just overall explosive. And the only, or not the only way, but the best way to build that is through strength training. So, you want to build the legs, you want to do core specific work. You want to, do upper body work that will build your overall capabilities. So when you are in the, the circle or the field, you're in positions like you can, maintain and just hit it.
Sweet, sweet. And this was a 7th place throw?
This was 7th place,
at
yes.
States. So
at
like,
States.
It's essentially, this is Pennsylvania state-wise too for anyone. So essentially, she's the 7th best thrower in the state of Pennsylvania as a sophomore.
As a sophomore, yes.
So usually these sports, a lot of sports are dominant. Is that I guess that's all of them then too.
Yeah, those were the 3.
All right, let's go look at some lifts now.
Yes.
All right. So, boop, boop, boop. All right, let's start here.
Okay.
Get big. All right. Is this going to be a back squat or a front squat?
This is going to be a back squat. Right here. So this is Maddie again.
What's on that bar? I can't tell.
I would say.
Are those 25 kilos?
I would say those are 25s.
That looks a little thinner.
I would probably say that's maybe a 10.
All right.
5, and then.
So what? That's about 100?
Probably.
95, 100? Somewhere in there. It could be more. It could be. It's definitely not less.
I think this is 103.
Okay, I was going to say it could definitely be more.
Somewhere between 103 and 108.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent depth. Holy crap, that moved fast.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then that's me popping off.
Let's go. All right, let's talk about this squat and what it's doing for explosiveness and strength in general.
Absolutely. So this was, I believe, in April, maybe. No, I would say in April. And this was during a period where I was pushing these guys through their, their overall strength. We would alternate. We would do 1 week where we'd focus on strength capabilities, and then we would do a week where we would focus on power. And I believe this was during the week where we were pushing the strength numbers.
So how do you differentiate between the strength and the power, like in the programming?
So usually it depends on the time of year. With the outdoor season, it's a lot shorter compared to the indoor season. So I didn't have much time to focus mainly on strength. So the way that I did it was in March, we focused more on strength. The volume was a little bit higher, the intensity was a little bit lower, so they could just build their strength capabilities. For April, it was a mixture between the two, where 1 week we would focus on strength, 1 week we would focus on power, and that was throughout that month. And then the following month, we would transition to more power work as we got closer towards the end of the season, the championship season. And then we would just coast with the power work from that point.
Okay. And what, in your mind, like, how do you delineate? Because I heard you talk about, like, the volume being different between the strength and the power. Like, what's a rep number someone like, so I want to work more strength. Like, where are you having your athletes do their, like, reps and sets at?
So for reps, anywhere between 6 to, like, 9 reps, I think, is ideal for strength. For sets, you can do, and I think this is very dependent on time of year, but you could do anywhere between like 3 to like 5 sets.
And then when you start getting into the power, where do you have them head to then?
So this is also depending on time of year.
All right.
But usually we try to aim for 4, but we can up that up to like 6 or 8. But if we are at like 6 or 8, we're usually doing like 1 rep or something. We're keeping it, the volume on the lower side, but we're going to focus on like a higher intensity.
Okay, so when you were saying the 6 to 8, you were talking how many sets they were doing there?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
All right, let's go look at another lift. All right, this looks like a snatch.
Yeah, so this is a snatch. or power snatch.
Power
specifically.
snatch. That's not bad technique for someone who, at all.
So, this is a funny story. So Maddie used to be a swimmer, and she had some shoulder issues. So we were very reluctant to use the snatch. But I did a lot of stability training throughout the indoor season so that we could be in a point where she could snatch, a little more comfortably. So we had very minimal time to work on technique, but we try to get it as best as possible.
I would not say that technique's horrendous for an athlete who's not a weightlifter at all.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not the best.
Yeah, well, you probably feel that way too. You get to see like international,
Yeah.
youth and junior international level athletes, seniors for a time too,
Yeah.
who train weightlifting move, and you're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have like, hey, we're doing this as part of our training for sport, and it looks like this, and it's like,
Yeah, like it's not bad, but we have such a high standard that we're gonna work towards like good quality movement. But for a young athlete who didn't have the ability before and now she can, was huge. And this particular lift was a big benchmark for her. Just mentally, it's challenging to be in a gym with world-class athletes who are doing amazing things, and it's like, I don't want to do that. They're going so much heavier. It's like, yes, we all acknowledge that they're special over there, but you got to just focus on what you can do and just, let it be.
Yep.
So this lift was like, she was like, I don't know if I got this. And I was like, Maddie, like, trust me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lead you to this lift if I didn't think you could do it.
Right.
And then she smoked it.
And that's especially like female discus thrower. It's like she's watching, like she sees Jaime in the gym, and it's like,
yeah, it's just like, whoa, like, I don't know if I could do that. It's like, trust me, you can do it.
All right, let's go to another lift. Oh, this is Brady.
So this is Brady, yeah.
Are those fives? So that's 80, 90, 100. I don't know what that one is.
And it's a 1.5, so.
Yeah. It's over 100 kilos for sure.
Yes.
Is he cleaning? He
yeah,
looks like
so
he's
this
cleaning.
is a clean.
No, he just powered it.
So yeah, I believe that was one of the ones where we're just, working on decent movement.
Yeah.
He has a mobility, I don't want to say issue, but his mobility could be better.
Yeah.
So sometimes the bar can be pushed out a little bit.
Yeah, you got a wicked arm bend too.
Yeah, arm bend is a little crazy.
Yeah.
But, it's just like
that's gonna crash.
Just trying to put him in positions where it's like, you can use your body effectively. And it's the same thing in the circle. It's like, I want you to be in positions where you can move effectively and efficiently.
Dude, Jesus.
But all of these lifts, specifically like the cleans and snatches, and we'll get to the linebacker jerk, are all lifts that help build that impulse, the impulse that's needed to throw far.
You want to dive a little deeper into that around like the technical coordination movements, the Olympic lifts, and like their development of explosiveness, impulse, like just being twitchy, being fast, like.
Mm-hmm. So some of the Olympic lifts that we use, the clean, the snatch, the power clean, power snatch, hangs, and so forth, jerks, linebacker jerks, which we'll see on the next clip. And all of those lifts are, very fast. They're very explosive. And, over time, they help develop that explosiveness. You can push them a little bit harder. So, like, you can build strength as you're building, power, like speed, strength, speed, all that. The
whole force
I completely lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about the force velocity curve. I don't know if you ever talked to Dane about that, how he's not like, he thinks it's misnamed and stuff, like it should be the load velocity curve and things like that. But nah, so you're saying you use these for people to move the weight fast, right?
Pretty much. Just be,
And there, to a point too, it will get you stronger as well.
Yeah.
And it gets you, my personal opinion is it gets you more elastic too. Like you have to absorb the impact of that bar, and you can't play with it. And like if you're snatching, like your shoulders have to do it, right? Your triceps and your arms a little bit more. I'm not saying the lower body doesn't do it, but and then when you catch a clean, like the trunk is just like, you better like step up, Buttercup, or else you're gonna just get folded.
Yeah.
Play like the accordion, right? What's that Doom lyric there? What he says? I don't know. You ever hear accordion? What he?
Yes.
I can't.
Mad Villainy.
Yeah.
Accordion.
All right, let's go watch a linebacker jerk.
Yeah. So
before he even does this, I feel like this is more like in his bread and butter, like type of spot as a like athlete, as a thrower.
This lift definitely have gotten better for him. I like this lift a lot, specifically for the shot put, because you are in that loaded position, and it's just all just concentric power.
Yeah, and it's that, I don't want to say a quarter squat, but it's that little baby squat.
Yeah. It's just
it's sick. What is that, 120?
Yeah, 120.
Yeah. And it's like going from the boom, go.
Yeah.
Jeez. I wonder how much he could do if he got better at like dropping under too. Like,
that'd be a good question.
Yeah.
We'll find out this summer.
But like just raw strength, like that's sick. All right, we got some lifts there. We got some cool stuff. You want to get into the actual program?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right. I think we got all that. Boom. Don't need you no more, Slack. All right.
Okay.
Where do you want me to go with this? You just talk me through it.
Okay. Well, first, can we just bring that?
This?
Yeah, let's put it to 50.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Just so we can see it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a 4-day cycle. The way that I have this laid out is the whole month's training on this one spreadsheet. So we have day 1, which is lower body strength. Day 2, which is an upper body strength. Day 3, which is an athlete/impulse day. And then day 4, which is a full body impulse day.
Okay.
For our athletic development, we start off with just like a CNS prep. And then we'll add just some, mobility exercises just so we, get the body loose, get the body flowing, and just prepare for, our workout. So if we start with day 1, our lower body strength, we always start with a technical coordination. So that's, your Olympic lifts, your cleans, your snatches, your jerks. And then we transition into a compound lift. So that would be like your back squats, your benches, inclines,
So the absolute strength stuff. So all I'm hearing is like the GSPD, like essentially the garage
Pretty
strength
much.
system. Like, hey, this is. I just want to like reiterate, like we don't make this up. Like every coach on staff is like doing that. Like that's where it comes from.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Keep going, Sam. I'm digging this.
And then our tier 3 is just any accessories that we can incorporate. Just to continue to build strength, or if we want to build a specific movement, that's where that point will be. Typically, like when we get closer to the championship season, we'll advance, the tier 3 exercises so they're a little more sports specific. But when we are far away from that championship season, they'll be a little more simpler and just, we'll focus on just building our weaknesses.
Okay. Sam, I'm real curious about the athlete plus impulse and the full body impulse, because this is it's like a remix on the like system that what you see. Like if you go in peak strength, it gives you like the athlete day, impulse day, and the hypertrophy day, and you have this full body one. And I know, like talking to Dane, like with his wrestlers, they do a full body impulse day and things like that in season. So talk to me about this athlete impulse, and talk to me about the full body impulse too. Like what you got going on here, what your like train of thought is, what you're trying to get. And also too, when I hear impulse, like that feeds back into the point of like be more explosive.
Mm-hmm. So with this being a 4-day cycle, so I'm used to doing a 5-day cycle. So we would do lower, upper, athlete, lower, upper. And with this being a 4-day cycle, I just combined the upper and lower for that day 4. So it's just like a total body. So it's the same recipe where we start with the technical coordination, Our tier 2 will be a absolute strength exercise, and then we'll add like a accessory lift, so like here you can see that we have single leg squat, but we also have that supersetted with a dumbbell RDL. So we're just banging out the legs within that tier. And then the next tier, we have incline bench and then reverse flies, which was upper body. So it's like, we start off with the technical coordination, we move on to legs, then we finish with upper body.
So you end up having 2 absolute strength movements here then too.
Yeah.
Essentially, like with it through your tier 2 and tier 3. And then you fill out the accessory movements within that just through a superset. So it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it's like really like there's like 3 exercises sorts, but there's 5. But you just like adding on, like, all right, work here. I like this. This is cool.
Yeah. So that was just like my train of thought, because it's like I like things a certain way. So it's like, all right, I want to make sure that, they're getting 2 days of legs, 2 days of uppers, and then we can incorporate that athlete. So this was how I did it. This program was a little less on the impulse side. I think this was more on like the strength side.
That could have something to do with the time too.
Yes, the time of year. Yeah. So like once we got later towards the championship season, that's where we focus a little bit more on like true impulse. If we take a step back on our athlete day, the way that I like to do is I always start with some kind of conditioning. This will vary just depending on our space. Like if it's raining, we're not going to be outside. We're not going to sprint, but we'll find something, to do that gives us just like overall conditioning. But if it is nice out, I'll try to make it fun for those guys, because, they're throwers. They don't like running, but like I'll try to make it fun. So like one thing we'll do is like I'll have the tennis balls and I'll drop them. And it's like you got to grab it before it bounces twice.
So it's a more like explosive thing in and of itself then too. Like it's speed based. It's just, hey, we're going to move a little bit quicker, a little bit more often.
Yeah. Okay. So like I like to incorporate that just because like
sprinting, they're not running a 5K.
No. Sprinting is like the most explosive and the most athletic thing you can do.
So I was recently thinking about sprinting. Like, how often should you do it? I think someone asked on the Discord, and my thought as I thought through it was like, well, if you truly sprint, right, it's a max effort attempt. So it's like, well, how often should you max out your squat? Like that type of mindset. So like when you sprint, if you're doing it, like if you're really sprinting, it's a max effort attempt. So how often can your body reproduce that max effort attempt? It was like where my brain was going. I was like, doesn't sound like, through that logic, it's like not too often probably. Like you'd have to like sort of program in like, yo, pull back a little bit on it here, or like go on this day. It's just theoretical. I don't know.
Absolutely. And I feel like there are a lot of variations that go into that answer, but there's a lot that goes into that answer.
It could be a whole nother podcast.
But yeah, so like I always start off with some conditioning. It could be, just fun or just like a little simple. And then we will transition into some kind of plyometric. So here I had hurdle hops into a box jump. So they would just do 2 hurdle hops and then they would finish off with 3 box jumps. I always try to pair the plyometrics, like the jump plyometrics, with a ballistic, just because that's a little more sport specific to what we do.
What can you define ballistic? Like, even if it's just an example of an exercise too.
Yeah, so I'll just give you an example. So like one of the exercises we did is like a half kneel side toss. So like we'll do that with a med ball. I'll have one of the athletes pass it to the other athlete. They'll catch, decelerate, and accelerate, but the main focus is the toss. That's the whole like ballistic. Is you want to make sure that you're moving that load, but like it's being released.
And it's a lighter load too, right? Like how heavy would that med ball be in that ballistic movement?
Depends on time of year and just depends on the goal.
Okay.
Later in the season, we'll work a little bit heavier, and then towards the championship season, we'll work lighter. So it really just depends.
All right, let's get into this tier 3.
And then tier 3, I like to incorporate a technical coordination movement in there. Usually I'll back off the intensity and I'll make them focus more on quality movement. So this is where we can focus on like I said, just good movement. So like you can see here, I had 1 week where we would do a power and then we would do an overhead squat. And then the next week we would try to put it together.
Okay.
So I feel like this is also dependent on time of year and then,
Yeah, that
just
was
like their needs.
one thing I noticed and I wanted to ask about. You have like, they color different. And I was looking at it and I see like it's slightly different. Like this looks like hang power plus hang.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one looks like hang plus front squat. So like, it looks like you may eliminate a pull. So like there's a little like volume modulation there too.
Mm-hmm.
And it like alternates kind of week to week.
Yeah.
And then you'll see in tier 2, it does the opposite. And I also see you have your HAF, which I know what it means. I won't say it out loud. And how it flops between the drop set and like the working sets.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, so this one was just an experiment. It was really just trial and error where 1 week we would focus on, so like, let's use this as an example. Tier 1 for our first exercise, we focus on going a little bit heavier. And then tier 2, we would back off and just, the volume would be a little bit higher and the intensity would be a little bit lower. Whereas week 2, we would just flip that. So we would start off with the intensity a little bit lower, but then as we transition into our tier 2, it would be a little higher.
Yeah. This is 4x5 and 5. And does this say 4x3 and 3 there then?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So like the 4x5 would be obviously more volume, but the intensity would be lower.
Yeah.
And then the next week, the intensity would be higher. So it's like really try to push.
I have a question now, and this goes to something we were talking about, like planning for this, and I think this is a great spot for this. Do you find different athletes peak with different stimuli then too, around like volume and intensity? Because it's clearly you're thinking about it and experimenting with it to see what happens.
Yeah. So this is my first year like doing this, and with the athletes that I had, I really try to figure out like what got them to a point where they felt, the most explosive, the most athletic, like they felt ready. Someone like Brady needs a little bit less. His volume doesn't need to be high for him to feel prepared. But someone like Maddie, she can take it. She can have a little more volume, and I can push her in the intensity, and that will get her primed. I also think like for her specifically, it's a mental thing. Just seeing her push through all these, hard workouts, it's just like a good confidence booster for her.
Okay.
So it's like, I think that's why she could go into states as a sophomore and, compete with juniors and seniors, like some of the best of the best.
Yeah.
So it's like, doing workouts like this where it's like, all right, I'm going to push you, kind of just help build that confidence, where someone like Brady who already has that confidence, it's like, I don't need to focus on that part. I just need you to be prepared. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that's
it doesn't.
Awesome sort of analysis around like volume, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, yes, the athlete may respond physically better to the volume, but there's also this mental aspect of how they respond to the volume or how they respond to higher intensity, where one's like, I feel like I'm working, so I'm more prepared, where the other is like, well, I'm lifting heavy, so I know I'm prepared type of thing, or some combination of that goes into it. But that's a super unique way of saying like, yo, volume and intensity has a mental aspect and how it impacts the athlete too in their preparedness. So cool stuff, man. Should we go to another tab?
Let's go to May.
Let's go to May. Now this is when he's like competing, right? Like,
yeah.
This is like, and we know based off the previous, he's not kind of peaking yet because there's another competition down the line, but like it's the state finals championships too. Like it's not like a throwaway competition either.
No. So the state competition is very, very important for him, for us, and just like in general, because like it's the state championship. The last competition that we have is nationals, and obviously that's important, but it's like, I want to be the best in my state. Now it's like, can I do that and then represent, my state at the national level. But it's like you gotta be the best in the state first.
Yeah, to do that.
Yeah. So this program, my thought process was like, all right, let's keep it simple. There's not going to be as much, undulation throughout the week and whatnot. That. Like, it's like, all right,
that's gone.
Yeah, this is what we have. Less thinking and just more just doing, just go.
Oh, you can see that too, like 4 doubles.
Yeah, so we're just keeping it
4
the same
doubles
all the way through.
Is that a triple? No, that's a double too.
Oh, they're all double, yeah.
We're just hammering doubles right
just
now.
Hammering doubles.
The only thing that's changing is the exercise, right? Power clean.
Yeah.
What is that one?
Linebacker jerk, that one stayed the same.
So my next question then is like, how do you pick these exercises? Like, is this what explosively like he responded to the best, or like these are his go-to ones?
So that was a great question. So I like to just alternate, exercises just throughout each month. So we didn't show, but in April they had snatches for their tier 1, and we would do that twice in the week, where we transitioned back into the power clean just because they're more proficient in those lifts. So it's like they don't have to think about it. They can truly just go, have fun, and just, be explosive and just hit heavyweight.
Yeah.
So that was my thought process specifically for this program, where it's like I want them not thinking. Obviously they think, but like think less and more just do. So like, all right, we're just going to do a power clean, which, is a little less on, like the body compared to like a clean. So it's like they can truly just be explosive, just hit it.
Yeah, I asked that because like you're an athlete, like you throw, you compete, throw the disc.
Correct.
And I'm sure there's like a technical coordination movement where you're like, this is my jam.
Mm-hmm.
Like it may be, I don't know what it is. You can like power clean, 1 box from a hang, low hang, pause. I know when I did it, mine was a pause below the knee. Like I could pause below the knee what I could do from the floor.
Yeah.
And it was just like, if I knew if that lift was clicking, like I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Like, what's that lift for you?
For me, it's a hang clean.
It's a hang clean?
It's a hang clean.
Above the knee or below the knee?
Below the knee.
And you're dropping full into the hole.
Full in. Dane actually programmed that for us a few months ago. And I hit like 150. I think my best was 155. Was that the time I
was downstairs working while you were lifted too?
I think you were there for the 150, and then I went 155, which was way over my, clean from the floor. So it's like I knew, like I was building week to week, and I was like, I know, like I just feel good. Like I'm not thinking about it. I'm truly just like hammering this lift.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do for these guys. It's like I know they are proficient with power clean, so it's like they don't got to think. They can just go. Sweet. And it's just like, just hit it.
Make it happen.
Just make it happen.
All right, so we want them grooving, not thinking with the tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
We're sticking to this lower upper athlete impulse, full body impulse. And my assessment is the athlete with the impulse, you have the condition and you have the plyos, and the impulse part comes in a lot with the extra technical coordination movement.
Correct.
At the end for the tier 3, but it's more around technical proficiency, not so much the weight that's being moved on it.
Correct.
Let's talk about these tier 2 movements in your day 1 and 2 and your day 4 as well. Well, I guess technically day 4, tier 2 and 3 have the absolute strength movements. So let's start lower and upper strength days. Okay. Like, tell me about it.
For the lower body strength, day 1, I implemented unbroken back squats. Okay. So all that is just they're not going to pause at the top. They're just going to go through all of their reps at once. I don't have it here, but I have a relative intensity chart that I've been using specifically on this program. So for the first 2 sets, they have 3 reps. And I would use, I think it was like around like 80%. So, it was a good number where they can move, and then we would just go. And then as we drop down to the doubles, I would go a little bit heavier. Not like anything crazy, but just like a little bit heavier based off of the chart. and then just have them, go.
How would you decide like how much heavier they went? Was it like an eye test on how they move? Would you take feedback from what they're saying? If they were saying, "Oh, I feel like crap, but it looks fast as hell," you'd ignore them. Like, how would that work out?
So a variation of
Okay.
those things. So I used the chart, and I used it based off of what I see, and I always ask the athletes like how do you feel today before we even start the work. I was like, how do you feel? And if they're like, oh, like I feel good, it's like, okay, like I know I can stay on track. If an athlete was like coach, like I feel off today, like I don't feel good, then it's like, okay, I can make that quick adjustment. We can back off a little bit. We're not gonna back off like too much because there's a certain plan, but it's like, all right, I can we can take a step back, whether that's the intensity or the volume. So like maybe I'm like, all right, we're just gonna do the triples. Don't worry about the doubles. Let's just bang out the triples and just go from there. So it varies.
Yeah.
It varies.
I just know sometimes, like personally, and maybe you could attest to this too, like you're like, I feel like crap today. And then you start moving and it's like, but it's moving fine. I guess I don't feel as crappily as I thought I did.
Mm-hmm.
Or you end up somehow managing to like irk out a PR somehow. You're just like, where'd that come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about this upper body day here because you have two movements now.
Mm-hmm.
I see in there.
Mm-hmm. So for the bench, we just it's just a bench press. We're continuing to build the upper body. For our 2B, it's just neutral grip pull-ups. Just something that I believe that all throwers should be able to do. You should be able to do pull-ups. So I always try to incorporate that. And then if we think about strength conditioning principles, we have that push, we have that pull. So I always try to keep, those principles, within my programming.
Oh, I love this. I'm skipping over to your day 4. Box squats,
And
jump
then
lunges. So you have like the bilateral with the unilateral there too.
Yep.
The one that's more like a traditional, like just raw strength type of movement. And the other one was like, yo, you're going to be athletic and explosive here.
Yep. We have to.
That's cool. And we got getting a little fancy here. We got a 3-part finisher. Talk to me about this on the day 4, the full body impulse with what you have here.
Absolutely. So this tier 3, we have pad bench, and then we have that supersetted with a banded explosive push-up. I found that these two exercises, this superset, really worked well in the indoor season. Like a lot of the athletes responded really, really well with this superset. So I want to continue to incorporate that. So it's like we're building the upper body impulse. So, someone like Brady responds really well to these exercises, because it's very similar to what he's trying to do on the finish, where it's like, you're in a good position. You're just trying to be explosive as possible. So these are the exercises that help him feel that. And then we'll transition into another exercise that's a little more specific. So this one's a dynamic fly. So essentially it's like you're standing up and you would take 2 steps and then you would hit like a fly.
Okay.
It's very similar to, the position they're at the front, with the discus, where it's the left is forward, the right's back, and then you got to sling it. It's the same thing. So it's very specific to what they're doing. And,
That's cool. I need some clarity around the banded explosive push-up because originally when I read that, I had like my hands with the band and the band around my back, and I don't think that's what it is.
No,
because I saw the pad bench. I was like, all right, what I call accommodating assistance. So like if you would hang like something helps you move the weight faster, go heavier, and then the explosive banded push-up, I was thinking like accommodated resistance, but it's not that. What is it like?
So essentially, it's like we have our squat racks and we'll put a band across. Right, and they'll lay on the band, and then the band will help them be a little more explosive,
when they
off
do the
ground.
push-up. It's like almost doing like a banded pull-up, it sounds like. But the intention with this is to get as high as possible. So almost like a clap push-up or a push-up to a box.
Yes.
And you're getting a little assistance, banded accommodating assistance.
One thing that I want to add to that is when they push off, they have to flick their hands. So it's very similar to what they do on the
Okay.
finish for the shot put. It's like I put a big emphasis, like, yo, when you explode through, when you have that extension, you got to flick the wrist.
So I'm
'Cause-
hearing things around this day, this impulse, these two upper body movements, they're tailored towards the sport, like high transfer, little nuances in like flick your wrist on the push up to get even more sport specific. But both of these movements are incredibly fast, impulsive movements, right? Like
Correct.
clap and push up itself, and now out of band, it's even faster. You're going even higher. So when you land, there's even more like catch you have to do there. And the pad bench like is sick. I love that. I think it's so cool to watch people when they do it, like where you watch, especially watching the elite throwers do it. When you guys end up like hitting your one rep for like multiple reps, it's just, I don't know. I think it's cool.
Yeah. It's fun, and like I said, these guys respond really well to it. So it's something that like I know that, and I want to make sure that they're in a position where it's like I enjoy what I'm doing leading into
Okay.
a big meet. This is something that helps me get prepared. It's like, all right, that's all we're gonna do.
Let's roll with it. Sam, thank you for being here and doing this and talking through all that.
Thank
I learned
you
a
for
lot
having
from
me.
you. Unfortunately, you're a Boston fan right now. But what can I say? We can root for different teams and still be buddies.
No, we can't.
Yeah, we can.
No, we can't. Celtics are going all the way.
There's a possibility.
It's not a possibility. It's Banner 18's coming. Yeah.
All right.
Banner
Before
18.
Sam and me start actually arguing over this, we're gonna go. So tune in, everyone. If you haven't, give us likes, subscribes, whatever it is you go do. Follow us on like some podcast app somewhere. I don't know, Spotify, Apple, whichever one you use. Or just check us out on YouTube too.
Yeah.
Get our pretty mugs here.
Yeah.
But until next time, next time, everyone. Dane would be peace, and I say later.
Peace. Peace.